You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello everybody and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. My name is Jake and alongside me my good friend and co-host Matt. Matt, unfortunately, we have to talk about something that we have not had to talk about since the first time since 2019. The Tampa Bay Lightning are down 2-0 in the series and, well, the things are not looking great. It's something that we are panicking a little bit about, but it's been a tough 2 games for the Lightning to start off here against the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I don't think it's really time to panic. You know, you can definitely be concerned and a little worried, but don't hit the panic button just quite yet. But yeah, these first 2 games they were pretty rough, and I'm going to argue that they were probably some of the worst playoff games I've seen this team play in the last 2 years. So again, if there's any team that can dig themselves out of this hole, it's the Lightning. But if they continue to play the way that they played parts of Game 1 and essentially all of Game 2, they're going nowhere fast.
Well, let's break down these games and see if we can figure out exactly what was going wrong for the Lightning and what they need to do to rebound in the next 2 games at home. Starting off with Game 1, I thought this was an interesting game, Matt, because you look at it, it was a back-and-forth game. The Rangers took the Lightning tied it up. Second period rolls around. It's just 1-1. Rangers again take the lead, but the Lightning again bounce back, and you're thinking this is going to be a close, tight game all the way to the end. And then right after the Lightning scored that second goal to tie things up, everything, it just felt like fell apart. And the Rangers got all of the momentum, just went foot on the gas and ran away with it. As that final score was 6-2, but it felt like the Lightning were fighting for a large part of this game, and then they just kind of collapsed.
Yeah, like I think 1 or 2 episodes ago, we had the rest versus rust argument, and I came out here saying no chance. I think the rest is going to be nothing but beneficial for them. I couldn't have been more wrong. And I thought it would just stay at that for, Game 1 or only parts of it. Again, it was a little hairy at first, whatever. They scored rather early on a pretty brutal play. But, that was something that they can fix that. They can isolate that and, pick out, what happened here and there, whatever. But again, as the game went on, it just, we scored those 2 goals and everything just went downhill from there. It was tied at 2-2, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. It wasn't anybody's best game at all. I thought Vasilevsky wasn't necessarily his greatest. He wasn't playing bad, but he didn't have that team defense in front of him like he had in the last 4-5 games. And when nobody is playing 100%, that's what's going to happen. So it's unfortunate. It was a hard game to watch. I didn't think it was necessarily as bad as Game 1 against Toronto was, but it was something that we could have hopefully adjusted and worked on. I might be jumping the gun here a little bit, but I think Game 2, it was just completely worse. Any work that they did, it did not do them any better.
And it's funny because the score was closer in Game 2, but many would argue that it was actually a worse performance. But, the way I look at it, the biggest issues for the Lightning right now are the whole rest and rust thing. Could that have played a little bit into it? Yeah, maybe. But I think it's largely mostly to just, one, giving credit to the Rangers. They've played fantastic. They've done their homework. They were ready to go. And they've been playing really well. They did their job. They won their 2 games at home. And then, the Lightning, I think we're starting to see that they're missing Braden Point now. I think that's starting to catch up to them. The team defense as a whole, and including Andre Vasilevsky, has just not been what it's been since Game 6 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had a lot of bad turnovers that led to odd man rushes. The one goal, I believe it was in game 1, where Bogosian, came off his man, left somebody wide open in front of the net for an easy goal. That's the kind of stuff that they just can't do, and the Rangers are capitalizing on it. And the Lightning defense has just struggled. And I wonder, the big one thing I talked about, I'll get your opinion on this, Matt. The Lightning have had Riley Nash out there all the time taking line rushes, but they've always gone with 11 and 7. I wonder if Cooper changes things up heading into game 3 to maybe put Nash out there and go back with a traditional 12-6, because Nash is a very good defensive forward, and it seems like that's one of the biggest areas the Lightning need help in right now.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. The 11 and 7 has worked tremendously, against Florida. But as we have seen rather obviously that it is not working. And it's difficult to decide who to take out. My personal opinion would be Bogosian, not only because of that, just one play. And it's not like he's been playing horribly. He's got to come out of the lineup, but it's like, who's the weakest link? And even though we did in game 2, we actually won the majority of the faceoffs. I believe the final was 58-42%, not actual faceoffs, but
that's correct.
Having Riley Nash in there, he's a good faceoff guy and he's a good defensive forward. So he is not going to put up any points, and that's not what he will be there for. But also, going back to what you're saying, missing Braden Point, it was not an issue at all in that Florida series. I hate trying to compare these two. It's a little, stupid in my opinion to try to compare these two series so far, but it's really showing. The Lightning, they look a little flat-footed. They don't look confident, and that's really the biggest thing. I don't think they really look tired, but they don't seem to have the confidence. They seem to be a little outmatched, if I dare say. And again, a lot of credit to New York. Not enough people are putting enough credit to the team. A lot of people are still saying it's Shesterkin carrying them. I'm sorry, I'm going off on another tangent, but yes, Riley Nash again. I think it is time to go back to the traditional 12 and 6.
We haven't seen him in the entire postseason, but you have to wonder if it could be his time to shine here and give that Lightning that boost. I want to mention something. You were talking about the faceoffs. I want to read you guys this stat line here, and I want you to tell me, going into it, if you didn't know the result of this game. This is from game 2. The Lightning outshot the Rangers 31-28. They were better in the faceoff circle, 58% to 42%, as you mentioned. The Lightning were 1 for 1 in the power play. Meanwhile, the Rangers were 0 for 4. And then the Lightning out-hit the Rangers 32-23. Blocks were about even. The Rangers had one more, 17-18. And the Lightning had less giveaways, 22-29. So basically in every single stat category, the Lightning were better, yet the Rangers won this game 3-2. So it almost, the eye test says they were not good, but the stats kind of say the opposite here, Matt.
Yeah, stats are often pretty good liars. When I woke up this morning, on reluctantly checking the game stats, and I saw, first of all, we outshot them. I was like, where did that come from? There was not necessarily any, or very, very seldom chances that I thought were like grade A chances that would have been registered as a scoring chance. But there were just a lot of weak shots. Nobody was really getting into any good areas. There wasn't great passing. Once they were in the zone, they were a little bit better, but it just seems like they were being, they could not get out of their own zone, and especially in the neutral zone, they weren't being outplayed in the neutral zone, but they were playing themselves. It seems like nobody could pass and nobody could receive a pass. Again, it's great that the face-off number has come up, especially I think New York beat us in that factor in game 1, and that was also kind of a huge factor. I mean, face-offs lead to possession, especially in the offensive and defensive zones. They're crucial. So, when out hitting the opponent, that's kind of indicative of not having enough possession. I'm not sure if you have the possession numbers with you right now, but if you are out hitting a team, it generally means that you are chasing the puck. You are chasing players, and you're trying to knock them off the puck one way or another. So at least that stat kind of lines up. But everything else, they're liars. I mean, again, like you were saying, on paper, this game, it was a close game, but when it came to the eye test, again, it was one of the worst games I've seen them play in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, the final score is all that matters, and the Rangers led in that category 3-2. But can we talk about Nick Paul though? Because I think he was one bright spot from game 2, where he scored late with the goalie pull to bring the Lightning back within 1. But it just feels like he has been solid all around ever since he's come over for the Lightning. He's physical. He's able to score goals. He's good defensively. Nick Paul has continued to shine, and I think he's been one of the bright spots for the Lightning, especially in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through the game, I was complaining, of course, just thinking out loud and saying, nobody looks good. Not even Vasilevsky, not Hedman, and especially not Kucherov. I hate to be so negative on these guys, but the lone bright spot in that lineup was Nick Paul. I thought he played not fantastic, but relatively fantastic. Compared to what the 17 other skaters, how they were playing. Yeah, Nick Paul was the best player on the ice. And I was saying this even before he scored that goal. It was a great goal, by the way. I think that's kind of getting overshadowed. It was a really nice goal. Another one from Nick Paul. So he's been a key player. And, I know everybody knows this. He has been nothing short of fantastic throughout these entire playoffs. He was Mr. Game 7 against Toronto. And, it's nice to see that at least somebody is putting in 100% effort, even if it doesn't translate to success. In his case, I guess it did, but at the end of the day, it's not the result that he wanted. But yes, again, Nick Paul, nothing short of fantastic. I just hope that he can kind of rally the troops and get people to follow his lead, which, it sounds kind of crazy, the trade deadline acquisition that seemed like nothing when we first knew about it. And I'm sitting here today saying he has to lead by example. It seems a little backwards when you have some of the leaders on this team, like Stamkos, like Hedman, like Corey Perry, who hasn't been here for very long. The interview as well, with I forget who was doing the interview, but yeah, again, Cooper, he had to yank him from the interview because I guess things were just going so bad. If there was anybody he shouldn't have taken away from the interview, it was Nick Paul. But that was during the second intermission, so I guess it paid off.
That was funny seeing that. For those who haven't, there's a video out there. It wasn't like an ESPN or a Bally interview or anything like that. I think it was some different market doing it. I don't remember, but there was a reporter interviewing Nick Paul, and you can hear Cooper in the background call his name, and Nick Paul immediately says, okay, and just walks away from the interview and walks back to the locker room. And you could hear in Cooper's voice, too, that he was not happy. I believe it was actually in the first.
Oh, was it?
But it doesn't I think it was the first period, if I remember the tweet right. Not that it matters at the end of the day.
This point. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But it also, I think, shows that Nick Paul knew, there's more important things he's got to go deal with. He knew the team wasn't playing well. The coach wanted him back there, and he left that interview and went back to go meet with the team. So I think that shows some leadership there too as well. But Nick Paul has been good. Let's talk about Andrei Vasilevsky, though, because Vasilevsky is largely the reason the Lightning go anywhere. In any game, it feels like sometimes he has the ability to take over and just, win games, steal games whenever he wants to. We saw that since game 6 against Toronto, but it feels like he's kind of reverted back to that, games 1 through 5 Vasi against the Leafs, where he just doesn't seem like himself. And I don't know if it's the days off or if it's because the team defense is playing that bad in front of him, but there's been a couple of plays like in game 2, there was a shot that Vasilevsky made the save, but then he lost it and the puck started to go and roll over the goal line. But Corey Perry luckily saw it, dove for it, and was able to get a hand on it and get it away from that goal line. But Vasilevsky just doesn't look like himself, and that's a big issue for the Lightning. But I don't know about you, what you think, Matt, if it's some arrest thing or if it's just that the Lightning defense is not doing what they've done in games past, and that's causing more issues for him.
I'm not entirely sure what to pin it on. Like, we know that, like, if anybody has proven that, like, Vasilevsky can carry this team throughout an entire postseason, actually two, actually possibly three, it's not a rest thing. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if those Igor's better chants are getting in his head. I think he'd be the last person to be rattled by a crowd.
Those chants, they got "We Want Tampa" vibes to me.
Oh God, just bulletin board material chants.
Oh,
So,
trust me, I am ready. I've got the tweets bookmarked. I'm ready to make the video if Vasilevsky comes back and shuts this down.
Bazzy's better. Um, but like you were saying, there were a couple of times like he looked off. You know, he didn't look awful, but he looked off. Like he kept us in that game for sure. Like if it were not for Vasilevsky, that game would have been 10-1 or 10-2. But the Rangers seem to have figured him out. Like everybody's talking about every goal has come on the blocker side, or most of them blocker side. But that play where he had it and he lost it, it was kind of a weird play in general. But there were more throughout the entire game where they were just, you know, not dangerous shots, but like straight up chest shots or glove shots where he couldn't freeze them. He bobbled a lot of pucks. There was one where he completely missed a poke check, which led to a great chance. I think the Rangers player ended up shooting it wide, which would have really costed us. But he hasn't looked like himself. But it's not. Nobody has. The only person that has looked like themselves, and again, it's such a small sample size, but it's Nick Paul. He's the only person that has looked average or above average so far this series.
Well, the other thing is, too, Vasilevsky is the type of guy that's not happy. He's, I'm sure, on himself about his performances of late, and he'll bounce back. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that Vasilevsky is going to try to come out and play his best hockey over these next two games at the very least, and give the Lightning a chance. And two of the things with the blocker side shots and just some of the shots in general, how much time and space have the Rangers had this series where they've just got so much room like that? Even that Zibanejad goal, he had all day to find how he wanted to shoot that puck, and he nailed it. You know, he had great accuracy on that shot, picked his corner, and that's one that's really hard to stop. So I think it is, he's off his game, but it's also largely due to the Lightning defense just struggling tremendously. And you know what a lot of it is too as well, Matt, is that the Lightning defense, they keep getting these either passes blocked, or there was a play, I think it was in game one, where Hedman or McDonough went to make a hit, and then next thing you know, on an odd man rush, they're stepping up on the play or getting their shots blocked, and it's creating all these odd man rushes.
Yeah, it seems like the Lightning, they're not taking care of these seam passes, not like stretch passes, but like inside their defensive zone. The Rangers, they're cycling like no other team. They look like they're on the power play half the time, and they've got a dangerous power play. I'm still shocked that it went 0 for 4 last night, because the penalty kill for the Lightning did not look good at all. But yeah, they're finding any
I'm
which
actually,
way.
real quick, not to jump in, but I'm going to disagree with you there. I thought
Really?
the penalty kill was pretty good. I think they made an adjustment, and we're jumping over to that one right side to not let that slap shot come off. And I think that's been one good thing about the Lightning in game two, along with Nick Paul.
You are right. Later on in the game, the last two PKs, they were good, but I would say that the first two, they were less than desirable. I think the second power play, I think we maybe spent a minute and 45 seconds playing defense, which, again, you're going to want at least like a couple of clears or make it difficult, but it seemed like they were just playing with their food for a power play and a half. So, but yes, you are correct. They did make an adjustment, and again, they went 0 for 4, so we had to have been doing something right. But yeah, inside of their own zone, the Rangers, they really are playing. They're those cross ice passes from the boards to the other side. I mean, they're leaving Mika Zibanejad wide open, who I have criminally underrated his shot. He's got a cannon. It's scary. So
He does.
it's a cannon, and there's plenty of great weapons, but it seems like Zibanejad, I mean, he's one that they really, really need to watch out for. And they're playing zone defense. They're really not taking any men. And that's one way you're really going to lose. It seems like everybody's trying to try and transition and, get close to the shooting lanes, but not actually get in the lanes, not get in passing lanes. And it's the antithesis on how New York is defending us. It seems like every time we have been trying to break out of the zone and up into the neutral zone, every pass that got off, whether it be from a forward or defenseman, went straight to a Ranger stick. I mean, they always have a guy back. They're always ready. I don't think we got maybe one or two odd man rushes that weren't even all that clean throughout the entire game. They had an answer for everything. So again, it's not just the Lightning playing bad. It's the Rangers. They are playing very, very good.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
And a lot of people have argued over the course of the playoffs, the Rangers have only gotten better. And I'll be the first to agree with them.
Yeah. Well, the Rangers are now 5-0 against the Lightning, including the regular season. Yeah. So obviously they know something. Maybe it is Barclay Goodrow over there telling everybody exactly what to do. I don't know, but it's something. They know what they're doing. They're playing well. And the bottom line is the Lightning are going to have to make a ton of adjustments heading into Game 3. So, I know a lot of Lightning fans are upset and annoyed or maybe a little even panicked even. But at the end of the day, as the saying goes, you're not in trouble till you lose on home ice. And it's the truth because, what have we said every series so far, Matt, when we've done this show? It's that the goal for the Lightning is to win one on the road. That's the goal, win one. Unfortunately, that did not happen for them. But now you're back home. If you win these next two at home in front of your fans, you're right back to an even series. And you mentioned this before the show that the Rangers were down 0-2 to Carolina just last series. So it is not over by any means, and there's still a lot of hockey to be played, and they have an opportunity to reset this series with these two games at home here.
And they were also down 3-1 to the Penguins as well. So they have been a comeback. Right. They've been a comeback team so far. And you know what? I'd be willing to put on my tinfoil hat and say that it's going to happen to them. I'll never give up on this team, even during the Columbus sweep in game 4 with 5 minutes left. I was saying, no, they're going to reverse, they're going to win in 7.
Loyal to a fault, right?
Yes, exactly. It's almost detrimental to my health. So, but again, this one, I'm being a lot more serious about it though. They are not out of it by any means. We've like we were just saying, there have been many, many, many instances in just over recent years where teams were up 2-0 and ended up squandering that lead, and the down team, they ended up winning. So, and again, they're all good teams that have done that. None of them have been the Lightning. And if there's any team that can do it, it is the Tampa Bay Lightning. So do not count them out. They're actually in a good spot right now because they are going home. If they had lost those first 2 games at home, I think I'd come in here with a totally different demeanor.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back
to
Amalie,
on fire.
Yes, exactly. So going back to Amalie, it gives me a lot of comfort, and I'll probably be able to sleep at night knowing that, yeah, they're going to have a great home crowd. If they can at least squeak out 1 win at home, they're fine.
Well, ideally, we don't have to get to that. We don't have to go down 3-1. But you're right. At the very least, obviously, you have to get 1. But ideally, you can win these next 2 at home. And then you have a chance to reshift the series and take advantage by winning Game 5.
And once the Lightning start rolling, I mean, they're a snowball. Once they get a little bit of momentum, okay, Game 1, okay, Game 2, oh, we've won 3 in a row. Oh my God, 4, 5, 6 in a row. Like, it's completely not out of the realm of possibilities that they could win the next 4 games. I honestly can see that happening. That, you know what, it would follow my prediction. I said Bolts in 6. So again, you got to lose 2 to get there. So again, it's completely not out of the realm of possibilities that they could win these next 4 games and just carry on a steamroll pace.
They swept the Florida Panthers. They won 4 straight. They have the ability to win those 4. And You're right. You have to lose 2 to get to that Game 6 prediction. But we just wouldn't have liked these losses to come this soon. That's all. A little bit of more leeway would have been nice, but
and maybe not so brutal as well. Like if they were close games, I'm coming in here. I'm trying to be I'm trying to be optimistic, but if they were close games, like again, I know that it was 3-2 last night. It was not a close game. 6-2, that was not a close game.
Well, what's funny about the score being 3-2, yet, me being a diehard fan, I'm sure this was for a lot of people. I had hope. I thought maybe I thought they had a chance that they were going to come back and tie that game. And
me too.
There were a couple of plays that were close too. And I remember, I think it was a Hedman shot that ended up going wide, but
wide.
I saw that puck just squirt by and my heart skipped a beat. I thought, oh my God, they're going to tie it and steal this one. But
yeah, it was maybe 2 inches off the post.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it had a chance, but it just went wide. But it goes to show you, even when the Lightning are not playing their best, they can still be in these games, and they have for a large majority. Even in game 1, where they lost 6-2, they were in it all the way up until about halfway through that second period. Then things fell apart. So if they make those adjustments, start playing the game that they know they can play, and we've seen from them, they're going to be just fine. It's not like they're being, absolutely dominated 24/7 and it's 10-0 all the time. It's not like that, despite what some of the scores shows. And I know we've been really harping on them, but in reality, I think, I don't know if you agree with me here, Matt, but they're close and they just need to make some adjustments and start playing their own game.
I'm going to ask you a question and we're going to omit Vasilevsky.
Okay.
But I'm putting this good energy out into the universe. I'm projecting that it's going to happen. We're going to win these next 4 games. I might be horribly wrong, but that's what I'm just trying to project. That's my prediction.
Positive energy. This is a positive energy only podcast, Matt.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we'll save the negative for the group chat. So who needs to elevate their game so that we can at least win these next 2 games at home? Who is going to be the hero? Who's going to be the person that really puts this team on their back and not carries us, but is going to be the star of these next 2 games?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're asking me, who do I think needs to do that? I'm going to go with Anthony Cirelli, just because he has, he's been a guy a lot of people have talked about for a while. We know he's good defensively, but he hasn't had a big game in the playoffs and has honestly been kind of invisible a little bit. So I would really love to see him step up and make a few huge plays to get that momentum rolling here at home. So Cirelli. But if you're asking me who I think is actually going to be the one that steps up and helps out the Lightning here, I'd have to go with Ross Colton. Ross Colton has been the guy who has scored some clutch playoff goals. He hasn't been able to get anything going in these last 2 games, but I think Ross Colton can step up big and score some big goals. What about you, Matt?
I'm going to say Victor Hedman. I think he's left a lot to be desired from his play in these first 2 games. And we know that. I mean, Victor Hedman, he is hands down, he's the greatest defenseman in the world, and he's matched up with another stellar defenseman in Adam Fox, but I haven't seen a whole lot from him. I think he's looked a little shaky. I'm not thinking he's injured by any means. He hasn't really taken any real big, I don't think he's injured at all, but
let's be honest.
Terrible.
By the end of the playoffs, we always find out that basically everybody's been injured.
Yeah, I'm using that relative for the playoffs. So, but I think it's about time that he really puts the team on his back and goes, classic Victor Hedman, Thor, thunderstruck mode. So, obviously he can't score. He can't score every goal. He can't make every single pass, but he has to be the Norris winning, the Conn Smythe winning Victor Hedman that shuts it down in his own end and starts it in the other end.
Yeah, you need everybody to step up at the end of the day. But I do like that. I think you're right. Hedman, he's a big leader on this team, and he's done it a few times where he's put this team on his back. And if he could do that again, that would be fantastic. So we'll have to wait and see, though, who is the hero. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. Let us know who you think the hero might be for this series, if you got your picks, or who you think should be the one to step up and help out the Lightning in these next 2 games. And also, we appreciate all you guys listening into this podcast. If you can, take a second here to wherever you're listening, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter at RBLR Sports so you don't miss out on all these podcasts. Give us that 5-star rating if you could. It really helps us out, and we really appreciate it as well. But Matt, let's go into now just what we think the team needs to do moving forward here to win these next 2 games. How are the Lightning going to come back next time we talk, tied 2-2 and heading back to New York?
Well, I'm going to go to an old theme from this show earlier this season is play a full 60 minutes. I know I've beaten this horse way too many times and I sound like a broken record, but again, last night is a perfect example. They started off well. I'm not going to say great, but they started off well. They got an early goal and they looked like they were going to have a great bounce back game, similar to game 2 against Toronto, where, that you could just tell that there was a different renewed sense of vigor, and that tailed off quickly. It just went all downhill until the last 4 minutes of the game. So what they need to do is they just need to play a full 60 minutes. What I saw from time to time throughout not the entire game, but what I saw throughout a lot of the game last night was they weren't really playing with purpose. It seemed like they were almost questioning every pass or every shot that they were taking. Very few players really looked like they knew what they wanted to do or knew who they wanted to defend against, but they were on the ropes the entire game. Again, I'm still surprised that it was 3-2. So if they can just play with a little bit of confidence as well, I think that will be crucial. That will be huge. Because again, it looks like if I had not watched a game of hockey in my life and I sat down and watched this game too, and you told me that one of these 2 teams had just won back-to-back cups, I would have bet you $1,000 it would have been the Rangers. So if they can just regain their confidence, which we know that they can, we know that being down 2 games, obviously it phases them, but I don't think it really affects them in a way that it would most other teams. So if they can regain that confidence, play with a certain sense of vigor and just acting like they've been here before, which they have been. And if they can just channel some of that, I think they'll be in good hands.
You know what I just realized? The Lightning have not taken a too many men on the ice call recently, and they've lost now 2 games in a row. Maybe we should be taking too many men on the ice calls. Is that what the problem is?
They were close in game 1. I remember, the Rangers, the fans at MSG, they really wanted one, even though it did not call for one. I forget who was getting on the ice, who was getting off or something. There was a mix-up, but nobody touched the puck, so it's all good.
Well, man, the Lightning, they just love to make it close in those too many men in ice calls, but maybe they need to take one to get their mojo back. But in all seriousness, I think the 2 keys for these next 2 games is getting off to that quick start and because you got home ice now. Get those quick starts, get the crowd into it, get them excited, get them loud and chanting just like it was in Madison Square Garden, which, by the way, shout out to them. It looks awesome out there. It looks like those fans are having a blast down there. I would love to go see a game down there at some point, but get Emily rocking just as much. What's that?
Speak for yourself. I'm just salty.
I know. It's tough. I've been avoiding even some of my favorite, YouTube creators who are Rangers fans. I'm like, I don't want to watch all this content. I'm bitter and mad, but
yeah,
that's the life of a sports fan, right? That's the thing you start to do. But get out to that quick start, get Emily rocking. And the other thing for me is try to create some time and space. Give yourself a chance to make a nice move. Kucherov was so good at that against the Florida series. He did that a couple of times. And we've seen that from the Rangers where they've had time and space and they can make these great plays and great shots. And those stars can use their abilities to score goals. The Lightning haven't really had that much. I feel like a lot of their goals have been, those gritty type of goals, which you need, but I think they need to try and create some more time and space for themselves. And a lot of that comes from, making the Rangers chase, getting some turnovers, stuff like that. But those are my 2 biggest things. I think the Lightning can do it, no question about it. And hopefully they will, next time we talk, we will be tied 2-2. and looking to take back home ice once again in New York.
Jake, again, I projected it into the universe. It will happen. Stop with the ifs.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. When we talk next time, it'll be 2-2, and we will be set and good to go. The Lightning are winning these next 2 games. It's happening. Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman, they're all scoring goals. It's just going to be absolute domination now that we're back here in Tampa. So before we go, though, I quickly also want to let you guys know, make sure you check out our shop over at RBLRshop.com. We got some awesome merchandise for you guys. Matt, I know you always say, when you get frustrated, you rip your shirts off. I'm sure some fans have been doing that recently with the frustration, right? So if you need to pick up some new shirts, go check them out over at RBLR. You can go check out our Twitter page too. We usually have links up for that kind of stuff. And use code BOLTS for 10% off your order as well. Before we wrap things up, Matt, anything else to add before we end the show?
Nothing I haven't really said already. Again, play with some purpose, be persistent, and be patient. I think that was something I also said, before or last show, is be patient. And again, I cannot say any more about it, but again, I've made my prediction. We are winning these next 4 games. I'm putting it out there. Calling it right now. I'm guaranteeing it.
I love to hear it. That is what is going to happen. This is a positive energy only podcast. We will see, though, when we come back. We will be here to cover it for you guys, no matter what happens here in these next 2 games. But I look forward to it. The Lightning are ready to bounce back. And that's going to do it for us, guys, on this episode. Thank you again so much for listening in. We'll see you guys next time. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.